podcast and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who express them. They do not necessarily represent and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to Plato's Cave. That's right. You've stumbled into the abyss of questions, answers, and the unknowable future. Or is it? Yeah, that didn't work. I'll think of something else. This is Listener Pundit Radio, and we are coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on revolution.radio. What does Listener Pundit Radio mean? Well, it means that you, the listener, fund us. You send money, and we thank you, and that's all good. No one else does, no corporate sponsors. Or you can tell people about the station if you don't have any money. That's okay, too, because that's where we are today. And if you're in America, you will have a lot less money today than you had yesterday, and it's going to keep going that way because the tariffs are going to hurt you real bad. So tell people about the station, please do. Also, if you see us out in the wild, please like, comment, share. Share is good. Our shorts, our long-form videos, whatever you like. There's actually a lot of good content, I have to say. Even if I do say so myself, there's a lot of good content out there. And we're on pretty much every platform, Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, etc., etc. It's over. TikTok, there you go. That's the Insta, and also the much ballyhooed Mecha Track. You know, it's a new platform that just entered the market from the lower fifth dimension. That's right, Mechatrek. What? You can listen to us on any platform, on any device, anywhere in the universe where there's radio waves, including Grace Tabletop Digital Radio in the comfort of your own home. And before we start broadcasting you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we are broadcasting. And for Dave, that's the
Dark and Jung
people. Thank you. And for me, the Iraq people. And with that, we let's get right into it. We'd like to thank the elders past, present, and future. Okay. Where to begin? I'll tell you what, Dave. There's no peace in the Ukraine. There's no peace in Gaza. Gaza is now, it's a killing field. It's genocide, ethnic cleansing. The UN has now decided to take a vote that said the famine is man-made or made by Israel, really, in the Gaza. And the only country that said it ain't so, apart from Israel, was the US. Oh, what a shock. They're targeting reporters. They're targeting medical staff. They're targeting children. One dead child is one too many. One is one too many. And we had a few tragic events today across the world. A bus in Australia, bus accident, a young girl died. Young children died in a shooting in Minnesota in a Catholic church. What? Really? And then, of course, the children that are getting killed in the Ukraine and in Gaza, these are the things front of mind. But the truth is there's thousands, tens of thousands of children that die every day. Starvation, disease, preventable disease. Okay. Doesn't make the news. It's not interesting, right? It's just, in fact, it'd be too much for most people to even comprehend, right? It's just too painful. So while yes, they will put blood on the screen. If it bleeds, it leads. But there's a limitation as to what they will show. Because if they showed you what the world really looked like, really looked like, I don't think you would ever get out of bed again. I think you stay in bed for the rest of your life thinking, what? It's a horror show.
I want to run with the thing that popped up in my mind. You said what it really looks like. So what does it really look like? and I thought immediately, incompetent and self-serving governments. That was my go-to straight away.
And I gotta say to you, Dave, that's a pretty, I'd say full marks. Pepsi would have gotten you full marks as well. But look, it does. It's funny too. And let's talk about deception just for a few moments here, right? For the most part, and this is actually quite topical. There's this gentleman on the run from the sovereign citizens movement.
I've got a story about that. I'll put the picture up.
Yeah, dude, who allegedly shot 2 police officers that had come to his property with a search warrant. That's all we know. Searching for what? I don't know. Who knows? But he killed them, allegedly. Again, allegedly, right? I have to say that. And took off into the bush. Now, he knows bushcraft.
This is the man suspected of shooting and killing.
Okay. It's like not really, but think of the Rambo, the first Rambo movie, when he escapes from the police station and he runs into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of similar, except he's heavily armed and he probably has cages of food stores and other supplies in the bush.
They found none of his registered weapons at his premises.
Correct.
So
he's a bit of a prepper.
Yeah, he's a bit of a prepper. And this is the term, Mackie, that they've been bandying about with the negative connotation. I'm not saying it's positive, but with the negative connotation of sovereign citizen. So he didn't believe as though he was in this country and required, to obey the laws of the country.
So no, it's not quite. No, it's not quite like that.
Quite
so
that.
We should explain it. It's actually a movement that started in the United States, right? And I wasn't a member, but I knew a lot of people that were sort of they were in it, and then some people that were on the edges. So it started sort of with the fundamentalist Christians. There's a guy called Barry Smith that who's dead now, but I went to his sermons in the early 90s. And essentially, out of that grew a whole bunch of other people having certain ideas around, and this is specifically in the United States, around the Constitution, the power of the City of London, right? And how everything is owned by the City of London. Not London, the City of London, the banking center, right? And we're all pretty much in bondage to the City of London. And all the constitutions, all the laws, all the bills of rights, etc., they're all bound to that. And funnily enough, naval law, right? It goes to theory. So if you write your name in a certain way, all lowercase, all the time, they don't have dominion over you. If you challenge a court directly when you're in there, let's say you're in the court for something, and you ask the judge or the magistrate, who do you serve? Who do you really serve? Right? Now the theory was that you get off because they can't answer that question. I have never tested it myself, and I don't recommend that you do. But essentially, the sovereign citizen movement believes that all governments on Earth, or most governments, are owned by the City of London, are corrupt, and we all of us that are sort of part of all these structures are living in bondage. Now, it's not far off. If you think about your mortgage and your other obligations, you're a wage slave, and mortgage really literally means unto death, right? I don't know why they chose that for the term. When you take a loan, it's a mortgage unto death. Okay, yes, sir. But it is a movement which has this considerable following around the world, especially again in America, and it's kind of sort of also part of I guess the broader militia movement, if you want to think of it that way, right? But these people believe as long as they're on their own land, right, and they haven't really gotten into any of the banking system, etc., they are sovereign, meaning they are untouchable, right? And Ruby Ridge, for example, except it wasn't Ruby Ridge, it was Ruby Creek. There's no Ruby Ridge. That was a case of sovereign citizens as well there. Okay, and the the federal governments of the world, whenever they come across the sovereign citizens, do their best to root them out. So do they have something? Is there something to it? Is this movement legitimate? I mean, do they have actually a leg to stand on? Do your own research. I'm still not convinced. Okay, so it's complex, and these people are usually singled out for various reasons. They don't believe in renewing the driver's license for I mean, that's why this gentleman had a run-in with the law, because why? I don't need you to give me a driver's license. I can drive my car. Who are you? Why do I pay you anything? Right? Why do I pay taxes? I don't pay taxes to you. So you can see how the government doesn't like people like that, right? So, and they also believe that the police is not there for the people, but only to protect the parasites, which of course is absolutely correct. There are two sets of laws. Well, actually three, but we won't talk about that. There's two sets of laws. There's one set of laws that we all know that applies to Dave and me and you and whoever else. Just regular folk, and then we have to, exist within those confines, with those statutes. And then there's the other set of laws when you're rich and powerful, which means that none of these laws that apply to us apply to them. And the police, the primary function of the police is to, and I'll explain to you why, is to perpetuate the construct of the state and the government. Right? And it's not. It's to protect the people. No, it's not. If people go out to protest, right, into the street, do you think the police is there to protect the people that are protesting? Or is it there to protect the government offices and businesses, etc., from destruction, but, from the citizens? Because remember, these people protesting, they're citizens. Okay, they have a right to protest, but nonetheless, the police comes out, and if and then they arrest you if you look at them sideways. So they're not there to protect you. I mean, the system has to function. So yes, the police will arrest criminals and they will, stop crime, etc., etc. But ineffectually, and only after the fact. So a crime has to be committed before the police gets involved, right? If you threaten someone, well, you can go to the police, but the police are not going to do anything. Something has to have happened before the police comes along and does something. So it's really retribution, not prevention. Right? Some people will argue, the police, they've got these programs with kids and such. Yeah, that's a very small component of policing, in my opinion. The police is mainly there to perpetuate the system and to make sure that we are all following the rules, all of us. That's their primary purpose. If you took the police away completely, and the law courts and all that, chances are there'd be chaos in the world, right? And why is that? Because you've taken the lid off a steam cooker, right? Whereas if we did things the right way and taught people right, and explained to them what ethics and morals are like and how we should live together in a society from when they're children. You have to start with children, right? And live harmoniously, and we all get along. And you will always have people that just are wired differently, and they won't be peaceful. But if we did teach our children right, there would be very little use and need for a police force. Okay, but the more desperate people become, the poorer they become, the bigger the rift between rich and poor becomes, the more police you need. We see it in America right now, right? Now, I'm not going on Trump's bandwagon saying, hey, crime in America is horrible. No. I'm sure it's not awesome, but apparently it's going down in certain cities. But there's still a lot of crime. There's more and more crime because more and more people are poor. More and more people have no choice, really, I'd say, right? Not all crime is a function of degeneration. It's a function of poverty, and we can see it. And the police is there to police the poor. Look at where Trump is deploying his police. Oh, sorry, not his police, his army, his national guard and his army forces. They're in black and brown neighborhoods. There's no national guard. There's no military force in predominantly white neighborhoods. Can you imagine the National Guard in Beverly Hills? Just with semi-automatic weapons on every street corner.
Vineyard.
Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, thank you. The Hamptons. Oh, there are tanks rolling down the street. George, what? I can't believe it, Marjorie. Oh my goodness. But that's what it is, though. And really, since COVID, and then in the Trump administration as well. So COVID was a break. So 2008 was a break point. COVID was a break point, and the second Trump administration is a break point. The difference of wealth and the redistribution of wealth from the many to the few has increased and sped up, and hundreds of billions were moved from, certainly in 2008, as much as $1 trillion in the United States alone, from tax money to the bankers and such. And again, same happened during COVID. A lot of people sitting at home, and a lot of the billionaire class was set up to provide services that way. Certainly, Amazon made a killing, and delivery, etc., and any of those platforms that would let you do things without meeting or touching anybody else. And then Trump, of course, with his tariff game and his blatant, and there's no other word for it. I mean, you could be a Trump fan, okay, I get it, but you have to open your eyes and see what he's doing. He's robbing everybody blind. It's just incredible. His sons are going around making deals in the Middle East. He's got his Trump coin, right? If you buy enough, you go to dinners. If you bought how much $1 million of Trump coin, I don't know, I think probably less even, you got invited to this dinner, and then you had access to the president, chat, and pardons were issued, and deals were made. It's it's funny. It really is. It just has turned America into a banana republic. I'm just glad I've lived to see it, Dave. I don't know what has moved you in these few days.
Oh, okay. So I have a story here, and I'm struggling to find anything that ties us to the US as news stories at the moment. There's actually a divide occurring right now, and this is a story that comes from news.com.au, and it says, the headline, US house price slump. Could it happen here? And then the sub headline on it is, first it was New Zealand, now it's parts of the US. House prices are in free fall across the Pacific. But here we go. Now they go, but a property expert maintains Australia lacks the same conditions that are softening home values overseas. I mean, in America, prices surged during the pandemic, but now have dropped significantly in some regions. This is a nonsense rubbish story that shouldn't have even been published anywhere at all. Not even on the back of a toilet door. I'm disappointed, Mecca, because you're right. When I look for tariff, the cost of the tariffs, it doesn't make any sense. People are going, America's never made so much money. They've never ordered so much. They've never ordered so much Australian beef. Their orders have gone up. Did you know that? I think by a third or something crazy. So I'm perplexed of all the stories that are out there. They're still, in Australia certainly, they're still angling themselves to promote Trump in every case possible. Yes, it would be lovely if some houses in Australia, if the prices fell. I wouldn't want to have that story upon me if I just bought a house. That would be bad news. But for the people who want to buy a house, that would be good news. It's small amount of people. But this is the problem. I'm watching the whole country, the world, except for Iran and Russia and North Korea. I'm not seeing anything from them, but the rest of the world is kind of backing Trump. Isn't it nuts? Where are the negative stories about Trump? Elsewhere. I'm not seeing it. Where's the negative press about the US? It isn't in
everywhere.
Well, no, it's
actually
the funny thing is, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it in the
I listen to a lot of. I listen to a lot of foreign language, obviously German, French, Italian newscasts. I even listen to the Fijian newscast in their language, and trust me, Trump is not looking good in any of those.
Okay. So the Western countries are the ones who are maintaining it.
India is also not a big fan at the moment, obviously.
Well, I can't believe Modi and Xi were shaking hands.
Oh no, I'm not surprised at all. You have to understand that Trump has changed the game.
That's right.
He has punished India with significant tariffs, which could lead to fairly significant economic impact on India, because ostensibly he's punishing India for buying Russian oil. But where do you go? I mean, of course you go to China. I mean, China is the next biggest market, right? In fact, China will be a much bigger market in the coming years than America ever was. You've got 1.4 billion people, and then you got India, 1.4 billion people. You've got 3 billion people. That's 10 times the market America is today, right? And no, they don't have the same spending power. But if America keeps going the way it does and keeps impoverishing its citizens, both China and India will be much bigger markets. If you just talk economically, right? They'll be much bigger markets than America is today. And like I said, America is punishing itself, and it is destroying its own economy, which I find hilarious, by giving massive tax breaks to the ultra wealthy, which don't really contribute much to the economy, and by taking Medicare and all kinds of services away from the middle class and the lower classes, thus making them, I guess, pariahs and unable to participate in economic life. So you'll see America is just going to vanish eventually. Not tomorrow, not next year, but eventually and permanently. And this is just in the first, 6 months, 7 months of Trump's presidency. Wait till he's finished in 4 years' time. But the negative press is there, my friend. It really is. And India is really, I mean, people that have positive press for the US are obviously Israel and Russia. They love Trump. They love Trump. But everywhere else, unless someone is trying to carry some favor, it's not flattering. Especially European and even Canadian television or newspapers. It's pretty bad.
I just feel like the West is giving him a reach around. That's really what I'm saying.
I don't know. At the moment, how can I put this? I mean, he still is a very powerful man, obviously. You know, the American military arsenal is nothing to joke about. But and make no mistake, what people say publicly and how they interact with him is one thing, right? Let me give you an example. You know how Donald Trump says all these companies have made commitments to build factories in the States and bring production back to the States and so forth? How many do you think have started doing that? How many companies have started?
What's considered starting?
No, all started.
Turning the
building
first solid?
factories, hiring people. Yeah, all of that.
I'm going with none.
0. That's the number. Correct. In fact, Apple went to instead of China, I think they went to Bangladesh or India or somewhere, right? Or Pakistan, I can't remember, somewhere. Because it doesn't make any sense for these manufacturers to come back to America. I mean, you have to ask yourself, why did they leave in the first place? Well, they left in the first place because American labor is too expensive. It's really simple. There's nothing sinister about it. There's no big plan to destroy American manufacturing. You know, American workers are too expensive, right? And since we're driven by this greed motive, the profit motive, the capitalist society, capitalist systems will look for the cheapest place to produce to maximize their profits. It's a natural outcome of the system we're living in, right? And you know how many factories will be built on the back of Trump's tariffs and policies? Just a guess.
None?
Correct. Yeah, Jesus, you're raking in the points, brother. 0. And you know why? Let me give you again a simple example. Let's say, let's take Apple. Why not? Let's take Apple, because to set up a manufacturing place for laptops and iPhones and so forth, that's relatively, it's easier than having a car manufacturing thing. You know, it's sort of a lot of it can be automated, so it can still be price competitive. But in order to build that factory, right, it would take, just to build it physically, it will take 2 to 3 years to build it, right? And then you have to establish supply chains, and you might still be affected by tariffs because America doesn't produce enough aluminium, and guess what? An iPhone is all aluminium, so you need to source that from somewhere. So you might still be affected by the tariffs, but there might be exceptions. Other raw materials might come into the U.S. from other places because the U.S. doesn't mine enough themselves. They don't smelter enough themselves. They don't refine enough themselves. And again, there could be exceptions. So it has to be built up. That'll take, while you build the factory, you also build your supply chain. So altogether, this will take 3 to 4 years minimum. But you also have to train the workforce, right? So you have to start training the workforce as well. So you have to bring people, from wherever you're building this, maybe it's out in Montana or Idaho, where maybe labor is cheaper than it would be in New York or LA, right? Let's say. Why not? We do something similar in Australia, where we go to South Australia or Tasmania, where labor is, relatively speaking, cheaper. Okay. What happens in 4 years' time? Trump is out. Trump is out. Now, if Trump doesn't get reelected for a 3rd term, and if a person that supports his policies and wants to continue his policies is not elected, what do you think is going to happen to all those executive orders and the tariffs?
Bye-bye.
They're going to disappear. Poof! And do you think, on the off chance, and this is the thing, I mean, if this was his 1st term, right, and there was a guaranteed 2nd term, because he would run again, then companies might think, okay, well, it's 8 years, okay, the risk exposure isn't too bad, let's go, right? But this is his final term. Well, so we think. And they're looking at this. I'm not going to invest billions and tens of billions or hundreds of billions of dollars just, so I can have a factory or factories in America that are going to be completely uncompetitive with anybody else in the world, especially if my competitors aren't moving, right? And John Deere, apparently, the tractor company, apparently they're leaving America. The manufacturing of John Deere tractors is moving out of America. I think that's hilarious. So it will have no effect. It's a complete fantasy that any manufacturing is going to go to the States that isn't already there. However, this is important to remember, Americans. That's not something that Donald Trump tells you, but it's the truth. Who do you think is the 2nd biggest manufacturing country in the world, Dave?
2nd biggest? Japan?
2nd biggest. America. America. China is 1st. America, Germany, Japan, and so forth. But America is the 2nd biggest manufacturing country in the world. In the world! A lot of stuff is made in America. High quality stuff, too. I buy a lot of it. KitchenAid and things like that, yeah? It's all made in America. There's a whole bunch of stuff, Timberland, made in America, right? There's a whole bunch of stuff that's made in America, right? I mean, there's stuff made elsewhere as well from these companies, but there's still a lot of stuff produced in the States. 2nd biggest manufacturing economy in the world is America. Weapon systems. Who's the biggest weapon system exporter of the world? America. Where are those weapon systems made? In America. Think about it for a second. Do you think Lockheed Martin, would move its factories with the secret military programs for the Pentagon and to China?
Anywhere else? No.
Anywhere else? No. No, America is the single biggest producer of conventional weapons in the world. It is also the biggest arms dealer of the world. That sector alone accounts for a massive chunk of manufacturing in America. Make no mistake, right? That's why America will always be in the business of wars, because it's good money, for the American power elite and parasites and whatnot. So, see, but nobody talks about this. You don't hear, America is the second biggest manufacturing power in the world. Yes, you are. Okay? And the reason you're not making cars in America anymore is because who wants to pay $200,000 for a, for a regular Ford or regular Chevrolet? Nobody wants to pay that much money for a regular family car, right? iPhones, if you made them in America, they'll cost you $5,000. Would you pay $5,000 for an iPhone? At the moment,
the landed cost of an iPhone is around about $10. That's what the landed cost.
Not that for a second.
And they're selling it for $2,500.
I know. But do you think that they're going to give up their profit margins? Not a chance.
Not even.
Not a chance.
The only way that they could operate is if they were allowed to do the same economic magic that they do at the moment using Ireland and those other shelf companies they have to write all the costs down to zero. It's got to be net. It's got to be a net zero on the truck.
Yeah, but, and this is a big but. Right now, the infrastructure they have elsewhere to produce exists. Chances are, it's already paid for itself. It's amortized, right? It was built years ago, right? Mm-hmm. So anything you make there now, you're not making it for free, but the infrastructure, yes, there's maintenance, but the infrastructure has paid for itself. That's now no longer a cost you have to worry about, right? You built a new factory. That's billions, tens of billions of dollars that are coming onto your books, right? This is now money that you are spending on an uncertainty. I find it astounding that people my age and older that must have had a good education, one would think, that have lived in the world, right, would think that any of what Trump is promising or is saying is going to be a reality. Now, I understand that a lot of people in Trump's cabinet never really had a job, including Trump himself. They never really worked. They were, they're silver spooners or even gold spooners, right? So they never had to work. Donald Trump hasn't worked a day in his life, right? Never. He's gone from one bankruptcy to the next, with his father bailing him out when he was still alive, which is again funny. And why do you think that people that don't understand labor and the value of hard work would do anything for the people that actually work hard? It makes no sense at all. In any world that I'm coming from, you are completely up that proverbial creek with no pedal, right? You've handed the keys to the kingdom, to the moron second son of a slumlord who loaded his administration with sycophantic yes men and women. Never anyone contradicting him, only ever praising his magnificence. I find it. I mean, I used to watch Bill O'Reilly, the O'Reilly Factor, for its comedic content. For me, it was the greatest comedy show on the planet. Of course, Bill O'Reilly takes himself very seriously. That's fine. You can do that. That's okay. I think he's hilarious. I think he's a hilarious man. I think he's the funniest guy on TV. Right? Especially because he takes himself so seriously. Because he's completely wrong about everything. Everything. He hasn't been right about a single thing. Ever. Which he says he is, but he's not. He even misremembers things and he gets corrected all the time. Maybe it's a fact, maybe it's a function of age, I don't know. But now watch Donald Trump. I watched the George Bush for amusement value too. And I can't really blame George Bush Jr. You know what? I've been thinking about this a lot. Remember, Dave, after 9/11 and all the things that happened, he was thrown in the deep end. I mean, he was not ready to be president. His presidency was failing, right? It really was. He wasn't a very good president, but then he became a great president in many ways because he had a purpose, right? And good for him. Of course, the purpose was guided by the Cheneys and Rumsfelds and his father as well. So that was unfortunate. And I think now, yeah, don't go on that. That's right. What? And now I understand he's spending a lot of his time doing charity work, like actual charity work, not pretend charity work, going to charity balls and drinking champagne and thinking, what's the most fashionable. Yeah, what's the most fashionable disease this season, right? It's not actual. So in my mind, and I'm not saying that's true or not, it's just my opinion. I think he feels he has to repent for some of the stuff that went down, even though I don't think for a second that he was the mastermind behind any of it.
He wasn't the orchestrator, no.
Not a chance. Not a chance. But
I admire him for wanting to hear the end of that story.
It was the riveting part. Come
on. It's not a cliffhanger, is it? Surely.
No. See, the thing is this, though, right? And this is one of the key indicators that it has never been explained. Number one, and number two, it doesn't make any sense from a purely policy and protocol point of view. If there is a credible threat to the United States, some kind of it doesn't matter what it is, but a credible threat that has materialized, and clearly you don't know where, how, something has happened. The first thing that happens is that they take the president and put him into Air Force One.
That's right.
Or underneath the White House if Air Force One is too far, but in a safe location, and as many members of the cabinet as possible, including Congress and so forth, right? As many as possible, but president first.
That's right.
Yeah, president first. That his Secret Service detail, as soon as they heard about the attacks, they should have. Protocols, I mean, irrelevant what he wants. It's actually completely irrelevant. Mm-hmm. He can't tell them not to do it. That's their job, right? If they didn't do it, that's akin to treason, and they could be executed for it. They have to get the president to safety immediately. That didn't happen, Dave. And for me, that is probably the biggest mystery of the day. It really is, right? Because it didn't happen. The protocols didn't kick in. The question I have is why, right? If anybody out in Listenerland has the answer, I'm more than curious to see if there's a reasonable explanation as to why.
Riveting children's stories. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, no. See, that's the thing, though, right? I mean, even if he didn't want to, he said he didn't want to scare the children. That's what he said. But the Secret Service can be fairly discreet. Usher him out and get him the hoot out of there, right? That was their job. That was the job they had.
Chewbacca defense, Mackie. It doesn't make sense. They kind of sweep in and sweep out, and left behind is Chewbacca. The kids wouldn't have cared.
I know, right? They said, in fact, they would have.
If they said, the president has to go and take a phone call. Sorry about that, kids. Hasn't it been great having him here? Yay, right? It's so easy to handle a real story, but...
Well, it is. Look, absolutely. And I just want to say, sorry, comment, I'll definitely watch that video on YouTube there. 2 videos. Definitely, 100%. We'll watch it. But... It's insane. So, but sorry, we're digressing. So I watched it for fun, and I'm watching Donald Trump for fun now because what I really love to watch, Dave, is when they all tell him how great he is. They go around the table.
I watched it once, and that was enough.
No, I can't get enough. It's like opium. It's heroin. It's like, come on, line me up, baby. Cook me some more. I can't. It's so. It's so
terrible,
surreal,
isn't it? It's terrible. You know, Mr. Burns, when he gets them to go around the table and say something just like Trump does, and everyone's too afraid because of what happened to the last guy who went against them.
I know.
That's all I see.
But that's the thing. It's But you see, it's a little bit. Look, I think. What's his name? I forget his name. He's a funny guy. He's got the not Tonight Show, some Daily Show, I think. Whatever his name is. I'm sorry, I have forgotten his name. I love him. He's a funny comedian. He's a funny guy. But he said it as well. Jon Stewart. Thank you. And I felt the same way, but he actually said it on the air, and I go, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. He said when he watches it, he thinks they're roasting him. It's like a roast. It's not serious. It's completely satirical, right? It has to be. It has to be sarcastic. It has to be irony. It has to be all of these things, right? But no. And he sits there nodding. Oh yeah, very good. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, you have to put yourself in Donald Trump's shoes for a second, right? So I've got a team. In my team, there's about 100 people. And then their managers and my direct reports is about, I don't know, about 15, 20 people, let's say, right? And I'm putting myself in Donald Trump's shoes. So let's say I've got these 15 people in the room with me, and I'm sitting at the head of the table, and then they all tell me how great I am. I couldn't keep a straight face. I'd say, okay, yeah, that'll be enough now. Let's just go with some real business. I mean, how can you even entertain listening to that, Dave? I mean, how weak must you be? How insecure? How much of an ego boost do you need for people to say these things to you all the time? Right? I find it embarrassing when people tell me, "Oh, you've done a great job." Normally, but let's say they go over the top, right? It's a bit embarrassing if that happens, especially if other people are listening. In my opinion, anyway. Especially if it's put on again and again and again, and then the next person, and they all have to try to be better than the person before. I watch it and I'm thinking, okay, what could you possibly say that hasn't been said before? What could you come up with? And sometimes they come up with the most ludicrous things. It's gold, right?
Sir, your skin is a remarkable orange color today.
you burnt sienna. You've got the hue. Erotic cinnamon. I call you erotic cinnamon.
You've got the hue of a navel orange.
in full bloom.
And sunrise.
Desired.
That's
by sunrise. I mean, do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's just insane.
I actually find it difficult to construct a sentence that I'm blowing smoke up someone else's butt. I just don't understand. Yes, it's a tool. Yes, they're using it. Yes, I've seen it. But it makes me throw up into the back of my throat, Mickey, when I watch sycophancy, right? I just don't know. So what do they really want? Surely he has a sensor in his entire being somewhere that detects that they're blowing smoke up his butt.
I honestly think...
He doesn't.
Honestly, he doesn't. I honestly think he doesn't. I honestly think that, first of all, he believes that he deserves this praise, number one, right? He's the smartest guy, he's the handsomest guy, and his little fellow is definitely not little. That's you watch South Park, right? I'm sorry, but South Park has done such a great job. When they all line up and give him gifts, and the first thing they say to him, "Oh, your private part is definitely not small; it's enormous. It's gargantuan." I mean, like it matters, but nonetheless. But he laps it up, and that's why Putin is playing him like a fiddle. in that way as well. I mean, he's got the compromise, but he loves it when Putin tells him how great he is. He loves it when Netanyahu tells him. He loves it when anyone tells him how great he is. You know that Zelensky went into the Oval Office recently, right? And he said, "Thank you, Mr. President." He wore a suit. It's a completely different environment. You know, you have to kiss up. I've never seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of kissing up in my friend. I really have. Mm-hmm. I've never seen kissing up like that. It beggars belief. I don't know how anyone can take it seriously. Even if he were, let's say he's the greatest president ever in the history of the greatest person in the history of the world,
the universe.
Even then, in the
whole universe.
Even then, it would be too much. It would be too much. I mean, it feels like the second coming of Trump, right? Yes, I am Jeebus. Like, I'm just waiting. He wants the recent thing. The most. Did you hear how he wants to go to heaven? He's concerned that he might not get into heaven.
Oh.
In a truck with a camel. No, he does. He wants to go to heaven. I'm thinking, okay, that's good. And then he says, "Oh, I'm not a dictator, right? But people say they prefer a dictator if he stops crime." Well, people like security. That's the truth. But to be serious for a second, people do like to feel secure, 100%. If you can provide that or the illusion of it, then people will be happy, right? Or happier than they would be with a lot of crime, uncertainty, and threats around them, 100%. Do you need the military in the streets? No, but they've, and this is very serious, so I'm not going to joke about it. You know how we have desensitized our children to violence, mm-hmm. and with video games and things like. I'm not blaming video games for increased violence in schools or anything like that. I'm not. But there's a certain desensitization that children have watching TV shows that are violent, and and video games that are violent, and a whole bunch of other stuff as well. And once in a while, a child will be negatively affected by this. Not everybody, but some children. But this desensitization also means that in real life, they wouldn't be as shocked by something like, because especially now on TV, in the movies, and in games, it's so realistic. Like when I was playing games, the blood was pixelated. Okay, so it wasn't really that realistic. But now it's a different ballgame altogether. What we're seeing with these policies that Trump has put forward, especially the deployment of the military into American cities, is part of the desensitization process. When I was young, I went to Turkey every year to visit my relatives. Every summer, 6 weeks, I'm in Turkey. Probably half of the time in Istanbul. Istanbul is a massive city, ancient city, and on every street corner, when I was young in the 70s, there would be soldiers with machine guns, because there was a bit of trouble in the military control, right? Now, coming from Germany, that really scared me initially, right? It really did scare me, because these are automatic weapons, and in a couple of intersections there were machine gun nests as well, so almost like an occupied city. But in the following years, it wasn't for the whole time; it's only for a few years that happened. But in the following years, I think in the third or fourth year, I didn't even really notice it anymore. Right, it sort of blended into the background. So the people, with submachine guns and assault rifles and all kinds of things in full military gear. So what? Right? It didn't register anymore. And I think that's what Donald Trump is doing now. He's desensitizing the American public, where they will accept military presence in a city as normal. Right? It's just normal. And then when people are protesting, it has happened before. Soldiers have killed protesters, right? And I don't see why it can't happen again. It's a real problem. It's a real problem for America. And I can see now a very clear path to secession, right? I look at California, And I think they're just a hop, skip, and jump away from seceding from the Union. I really think so, right? Depending on what happens in the next 4 years, and especially in the next election, right? If the next election is just going to be like a normal election and Donald Trump is not elected again and then someone else gets elected, whoever that might be, then I'll say, okay, crisis averted. I'm thinking, okay, that's good. If Donald Trump remains or tries to remain or finds a way to remain in power, or whatever the case may be, I can see definitely a movement away from the United States, at least in California and maybe other states as well. But see, California is already the third or fourth largest economy in the world by itself, right? And it's a good-sized country compared to European countries or Asian countries. It's in population as well as an area point of view.
You know what?
That's
it could
fine.
go Mexico's way.
It could, absolutely, right? So it is not far-fetched to think that, because none of this is static. I mean, especially, and he's serious, right? What if he does take Canada and Greenland? I mean, certainly Greenland wouldn't be too much of an effort. I mean, Canada would be a whole different thing, right? Because he had to invade. But Greenland, it's like 50,000 people in Greenland, and you don't have to invade it. There's already a military base there anyway, an American military base, right? So he just says, "No, this is mine now. Thank you very much." What you gonna do, right? Is Denmark gonna start a war with America? Not likely. Of course, the relationship with Europe is in the toilet at this point. I don't think that Donald Trump cares. But if Canada were to be, invaded or somehow taken over, that would be a very different kind of thing, right? And then I can see some states in the Union thinking, "No, this is not what I want." And before you know it, you have civil war, because there's no way in the world that Donald Trump would ever accept the secession of California. So, there's no way that they wouldn't be allowed to secede, and there would be war or some kind of unrest, certainly. And then, like I said, other states might line up with California. It makes sense, and it wouldn't be along necessarily Democratic and Republican lines, because true Republicans would be horrified by this whole scenario, especially the idea of a king, right?
I'd like to
it's
see
really interesting.
Like US V2.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
Or US 2.0.
What does it look like? Yeah. And again, the United States of America, in fact, not very many countries in the world, if any, have ever been static entities in their border size, land size, population makeup. I mean, you just look at for the last 80 years, there has been some stability, but the Sudan split up, for example, right? East Timor became independent, for example, right? And there were a few other countries, new countries. I mean, certainly when the Soviet Union collapsed, there was a score of new countries, right, that appeared. And same with Yugoslavia. And then now, if America were to go through something similar, it'd be interesting to see. It'll be very interesting to see what they would do, because I can see the path. I can now clearly see. I couldn't see it before. I thought it's a bit far-fetched. I don't think so at all anymore. I don't think so at all. I think it is a very real thing that could happen here, because he started prosecuting or going after people that he doesn't like. The Department of Justice is doing his bidding. The FBI is doing his bidding. That's not how the American democracy was set up at all. Not even close, right? There's no separation of powers anymore. He's taking it all. And just because he's president doesn't mean he can do it. It doesn't. There's a very clear definition of how much power he can and cannot have. Again, I know we talk about America a lot, but the truth is it affects us here in Australia significantly. Our Albanese still hasn't met with him.
That's right.
Our Prime Minister still hasn't met with Donald Trump, which is odd. We are one of the closest allies America has, apart from Canada.
Allies. That's funny, right there.
And Germany. Yeah. Certainly, look, if you look at globally, if you look at the world, Australia is critically important for America for various reasons. Not least of which is Pine Gap. But there's Darwin Port, which is marine cycling through it. It's a great base for Pacific operations, Indian Ocean operations. I mean, if you wanna go there. So I'm really surprised that he hasn't met with Albanese yet. So we'll see how that develops. But I can now see a clear path to civil war. And that, of course, is the end of all things. Meaning, whatever comes out of that will be a completely different world order. And I can see China emerging very, 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 very strong from anything like that. Very strong. Don't tell me that's the music. Dave. Well, you've got to be joking. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody. This has been Plato's Cave. Don't go anywhere. Something awesome is going to come up, I'm sure. There will be... Oh, we got 298 people in the chat. That's incredible. So don't go anywhere. But please do like us, subscribe, etc., etc. Donate if you can. And Dave, most of all...
Be safe.